Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and we are going to be showcasing this major pickups haul that I've got from anywhere between mid-October all the way to November 4th, the launch of the Pokemon Switch OLED. So I've been planning on making this video for a while, but I told myself I was going to hold off until November 4th. So I initially was going to do that, and then my brain was kind of telling me, you know what, there's a lot of stuff in this haul, I might as well start recording early and maybe just post a different pickups haul, and then when I get the Pokemon OLED, I'll make a separate video with that. But then I got sick, and things just started piling, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do that November 4th pickups haul video anyway, and there is a lot more stuff in here than I anticipated to get, so it's going to be quite a long video this time around. I'm going to timestamp everything to the time period that I got all this stuff, because a lot of the things in this pickup haul, some of the big things that I got were within the same day. So I think one of them was like mid-October. The other thing was like a special day, like towards the end of October. And then today I got a giant pickups haul, like the day of the launch of the OLED. So it's going to be a decently long video. I'm going to put timestamps in the description. But without further ado, guys, let's get right into this. Alright guys, so the first set of pickups that I got were actually from a customer that I got games from that I made a separate pickups haul video about. So this customer has come in a few times. He talks to one of my coworkers who also happens to be a game collector, and he has sold him a few Super Nintendo games here and there. So essentially what happened was he came back with more Super Nintendo games. So I got this giant stack of games right here. He actually came with more than this. I decided to split some with my coworker for some of the titles that he didn't have, and any titles that he did have, I would just get the games for, or the titles that he didn't care to have and just felt like, hey, you can have these, I'll have these. So ended up happening was I wasn't there for the transaction. My boss was there. He met the guy at a separate time, picked up the games, and where I was supposed to give my boss money for them, instead of actually paying him, he told me, take my shift on one of these days and you're cool. So I actually ended up getting these games for free, which is incredible. My work definitely wasn't free because I had to do a lot of work that day. And let me tell you, that day was complete hell. But I'm happy that at the end of the day, I got these awesome Super Nintendo games for free. Alright, now that I think my coughing fit is over after like 5 minutes, let's actually take a look at what some of these games are. So essentially, it looks like right here, we've got Bramstone's Dracula, which I've never played before, but it does look like an interesting game, and I'm definitely going to be giving it a shot eventually. We've got F-Zero, which I already had, but whatever. Another copy of it, not a big deal. Like I said, my coworker had options to pick which games he wanted, and I gave him the first dibs, so this was just one that he didn't feel like having, so I ended up getting it. We got Killer Instinct, Super Nintendo, once again. Not in the best condition in the slightest, but still a game I can play at the very least. We've got the Link to the Past, which I called first dibs on when we talked about which games we were going to keep. I'm like, alright, you can pick whatever game you want, but I am getting this one. So I wanted Link to the Past because I never got to play it, and it's a game that everybody hypes up in the Nintendo community, so I definitely felt like I wanted that one. So that was one that I was really excited to get my hands on. And then the last thing that I got was Wheel of Fortune Deluxe Edition. So some of the games in this list were pretty cool that I got. I'm happy that I was able to get these for free, especially Link to the Past, because I'm not sure how much that one is actually worth, but I know it's one of the better games on the Switch, and it's a Zelda game that a lot of people still talk about to this day. So overall, some really cool games that I got for the Super Nintendo. I've been wanting to expand my Super Nintendo collection for a little while because it's much smaller than my Genesis collection, and I'm trying to kind of even out the collection between the two. I'm still a bit of a Genesis fan over a Super Nintendo fan, but who knows, maybe by the end of this, after playing all these games, I may switch to liking Super Nintendo more. I still don't have an official Super Nintendo, by the way. I'm playing on a Retron 5 and a Retron 2 clone console, so who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I know I'll eventually get the Super Nintendo, but like I said, I'm working on those. Games still play the same way. They still look similar. Whatever it is, I like the Super Nintendo. I'm going to stop rambling now and show the next set of games. So these next set of games are some that I'd say that I got in an unfortunate way. And the reason that I say that is because I got them at a gaming cafe that was closing down, that was looking to just sell everything that they had. So essentially, my friend worked at this gaming cafe. It was called E-Legends. It was a place where they had a ton of PCs set up. They had TVs, monitors, tons of consoles, racing simulators, all this really cool stuff in an area that was only about 20 minutes from my house. So I used to go there with my friend a little bit when they were working there. We played Guitar Hero and Clone Hero all the time over there. I played the PS5, the Series X's, the Switches. There was tournaments there, but the place didn't get enough traction. Not enough people came in, and eventually, after only like a little bit over a year, the place shut down. So the guy was getting rid of some stuff. He still has some stuff for sale, such as TVs, chairs, desks, and all that stuff, but there were some games that they had at the place that they were using for like those tournaments or for when people were to come in and play games. So I figured I would get some of those games off of his hands, and I didn't get them for very, very cheap, but I got them for a decently cheap price since they weren't priced very, very high or very low at the same time. So essentially, the games I got were at like normal price that we would find the games, but I figured I would help this guy out as much as I can since he gave me some good memories at the place. So I got a few 360 games, a Wii game, and 2 NES games. 2 NES games that I got for, I think it was like $20 each, were Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario Bros. 2. So now I have 1, 2, and 3 on the NES like I've been meaning to get for a long time. I only had the original with Duck Hunt for the longest time and really wanted the second one, but since the third one was also there, I figured I'd pick that up while I was there as well. Another awesome game that I got from there for the Wii was GoldenEye 007 for the Wii. I haven't really heard anything about this version of the game, but considering it is GoldenEye and, 007 was a great game on the N64, I figured I'd pick up the Wii version as well. Last 2 games I got from him were Skate 3, which is a game I've been meaning to get a physical copy of for a long time since I've had the digital copy and love this game. We need a Skate 4. The Skate 4 needs to come out quickly. And the very last thing that I got was Metal Gear Rising, which was a game in the seal. So yeah, I am very upset to see the place go. It was a place I went to semi-frequently and was pretty happy over there. I liked their setup. I liked the way that everything was over there. It was a really cool place. Just very sad to see the place shut down. So if the owner of that place is watching this video, thank you so much for the memories. Let's get to the next section of games. So I initially was going to separate this part into 2 different segments, but considering there's a little amount of stuff in both of these segments, I figured I was just going to combine them into one. So all of these things I'm showing in the segment were from GameStop. Some of them were in separate days, but I ended up, figuring out that it's really not that much stuff, so I'm just going to put it all right here. So the first thing that I got was in the clearance bin at GameStop, where at the moment GameStop is doing 50% off of all clearance items. Anything on that price tag, they're taking half of it. So the first thing that I got in there was Road 96. So this was a trailer at my GameStop that was playing for quite a long time in my store. It kind of looked like a Life is Strange kind of game, like another story game that you would see from like Telltale. So I figured it'd be something I'd go for, and even though it was on Game Pass, it was cheap enough to where I think it was like $7 or whatever when I picked it up at the store. Plus, it was another game to add to my Series X collection, so I figured, why the hell not? Let's go for it. So I don't really know much about the game other than what the trailers have shown, since I actually haven't played the game yet on Game Pass, but since I have the game now, I definitely am going to be playing it soon. Even though I have the disc, I'm probably just going to download it off of Game Pass, because why not? There's no reason to use the disc if I can just download it that way. So that's Road 96. I don't know much about that, but let's put that to the side and look at more. Alright, so the next game that I got was Advent Calendar. I initially just put down the pre-order for this since it didn't cost any money to put the pre-order down. The game did end up being $30 when it came out, but it didn't cost anything to pre-order it. So I figured, why not? If I decide to pick it up, cool. If not, whatever. I mean, it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt anybody because it was free for me to pick it up. If somebody else wants to buy the game, then they can. Because after all, if I put a pre-order in the system, that means that it's got to be shipped to my store. And if somebody wants it, hey, the copy's there. I don't care. I'm not getting the thing. But I ended up just figuring that I'd just be like, you know what? I've been trying to get more sealed games in my game collection, so might as well just pick this one up. When I brought it home, I had a weird thing with the seal where it was like slightly off, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll go in tomorrow, get another copy of the game. hoping that that one has a better seal, and then end up opening up this one and seeing what it's all about and actually playing it. So the next day, I ended up going in, getting Advent Calendar again, and it turns out that's how all the seals were. That's how all the seals ended up being, and they just used extra wrapping on it, I guess, which isn't a big deal to me. So I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. I'm going to keep one of the games in the seal, and I'm actually going to play the other one. They were both cheap enough to where I figured I'd get two of them for cheaper than what an official new game costs. So I figured, why not? Let's do it. Let's get the game. It's probably going to be garbage. I don't really care. I wanted more games in my Switch collection. Alright guys, so the last games that I'm going to be showing in this segment of the video happen to be two of the same games that I got on their launch day. As a matter of fact, I did the midnight release at GameStop for their launch day, dressed up in a little fake ghillie suit and put a hat on and looked like a complete moron, but still did it nonetheless because I was really hyped for the event. Those two of the same games that I got happen to be Modern Warfare 2 for both the PS5 and the Series X. So I actually was pretty hyped for these games. Now, here's the thing, right? I actually ended up skipping Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare because during that time was about the height of my video game hiatus where I really wasn't playing any of the new games or really anything for that matter at all. That was around the time where I was focusing on music and everything. So I skipped both Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare and didn't get back into gaming until right before Black Ops Cold War came out. So I think it was like a few months before Cold War came out and when Modern Warfare 1 was the newest game that was out at that time. With that being said, though, the reason that I was so hyped for MW2 despite not even playing the first Modern Warfare was because Infinity Ward, just for some reason, never fails to make a really good Call of Duty campaign. I've seen Treyarch fail. I've seen Sledgehammer fail. Honestly, Infinity Ward seems to do it consistently for every game they've made, even for their games that were like mid to low tier at best, such as games like Call of Duty Ghosts and Infinite Warfare. Like the multiplayer in those were kind of okay, and everything else was kind of okay about those games, but the campaign was spot on solid. So that's one of the biggest reasons I really have to say I was very hyped for MW2. Other than that, just the fact that it is another MW2 that came out, I was really interested to see how a reboot of Modern Warfare 2 would be, considering that the original MW2 was just out of this world. So seeing them make a reboot that was not as good as the original, but still something to where it's an amazing game, just honestly shocks me to this day, because most of the time when I see reboots of games come out, such as games like Saints Row, they don't end up living up to how the games used to be back then. But a game like this, I have to say, it was really solid, and I'm really happy that I ended up getting my hands on it. The reason I got the game for both consoles is because since the campaign came out a week early for the people that got it digital, I had a few friends that got it digitally. I heard some reviews about it, and just ended up getting it for both consoles since I heard that it was pretty good. I will say that the campaign was pretty short, but the story that they told in that short amount of time made it to where this is honestly probably the best Call of Duty campaign that I've played ever since Black Ops 2, without a doubt. Or maybe ever since Call of Duty Ghosts, I should say. One thing I did forget to mention, though, is that I actually ended up playing Modern Warfare 1 the day before MW2 came out. So I played the game pretty much from, I think, at 6 o'clock at night, and then eventually finished it at like 4 in the morning just to get myself prepared for MW2. So I didn't just play MW2 before MW1, but I will say I was hyped for the game way before I even got to play MW1. So that's that right there. Last thing on top of that is I actually ended up getting the steelbooks that came as pre-order bonuses. Instead of putting the games in the cases, since they don't show the Xbox or PlayStation logo on them, I'm just going to keep these steelbooks sealed and probably put it in a box with a bunch of other GameStop collectibles that I have. So without further ado, guys, let's get to my last segment of this video. Alright guys, so the very last segment of this video is just going to be the stuff that I got on the launch of the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Switch OLED, starting off with the console itself. So, I initially was pretty pissed about the announcement of this thing, and the reason for that was because it was only announced a week after the Splatoon 1 came out, and the reason that pissed me off is because I wish they would have announced it around the same time, because it would have made a lot of people like me hold off on the Splatoon 1 and just go for this one instead. I ended up getting the Splatoon 1, and then once this thing was announced, I was really mad because I would have 100% held off on that one and just ended up getting this one. I do love my Splatoon 1, but like I said, I would have much rather preferred something like a Pokemon one. But at the end of the day, I decided to get this one as well. And the reason that I decided to get this one, despite already having the OLED, was I've been wanting an excuse to get a console and keep it in the box for a very long time. And considering I didn't feel like I needed to use two separate OLEDs, I figured this would be the one to do it on. Plus, I've been meaning to make a Pokemon display for a really long time. I actually ended up building one with a DS display case that GameStop used to use, which I will be covering at some point in another setup video that I do in the future. But I planned on making a Pokemon display, and having this sealed in the box, honestly, just would make it that much better. So I decided, you know what? I don't need to switch OLEDs. I'm going to have one that I use, which is the Splatoon one, and then I'm going to be using this one separately. So I initially didn't think that this console was going to be coming out. I thought that they were going to release a Switch Lite like they did for Diamond and Pearl, and I was wrong. But they came out with an OLED, ended up being like $150 more than something that you would see with a Lite, and I can't complain. You know what? The only thing I'll complain about is the fact that they ended up launching this, or at least announcing it, about a week after they came out with the Splatoon one, which people like me would have definitely held off on the Splatoon one and just gone for something like this. So it is what it is. I finally have the console in my hands. I've been waiting on it for a long time. I also got one for my friend, and I just shipped it to him today. So very happy to have this in my collection. I'm trying to get every single Nintendo Switch that was Pokemon related. I already have the Diamond and Pearl one, the Switch Lite, Scarlet, the Sword and Shield Switch Lite, and I now have the OLED of Scarlet and Violet. I am just missing the Let's Go Eevee / Let's Go Pikachu regular Switch. So other than the Switch OLED, I got a ton of free games from my coworker that was trading in a ton of stuff. Essentially, there was a major trade boost this week for just anybody that was looking to trade in some stuff at GameStop. My coworker ended up taking advantage of that deal, and for whatever games we couldn't take in, he just ended up giving to me. They were all Xbox 360 games, some stuff that I already had in my collection, but nonetheless, some other stuff that I didn't. So let's just take a look at some of that. It's a decent stack of stuff, and I am a 360 collector, so I was happy to see some of this stuff, especially certain doubles. So those games ended up being WWE 2K14, 2K13, and 2K12. Some games I've been looking to add to the collection since I love the old WWE games on the 360. He also gave me Naruto Rise of a Ninja for the 360. The Mass Effect trilogy, so Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, I now have the official cases for all these. For Mass Effect, I think 1 and 2, I made repro cases when I only had the disc, so I now have the official cases for all of them. And the last game, one that I've wanted to get for a long time, which I've been meaning to do for a while, just never ended up biting the bullet, Call of Duty World at War. So I'm surprised that we didn't take this game in, considering it's one of the best games on the 360. Especially Call of Duty-wise, you would think a lot of people that were buying 360 games at GameStop would want something like this, but yeah, I guess we just weren't taking this game in, unfortunately, which I think is really dumb, but at the end of the day, I ended up getting it, so I am very happy about it. I didn't even open to see if it was in there, but yep, sure enough, it is in there. It looks like this is in a pre-owned GameStop case with just like the cover art in there, so it's not the official Xbox 360 case, but it's still the game nonetheless, so I am very happy about that. Worst case scenario, I'll just take the cover art out and put it in a green 360 case, and it will make it as if it wasn't in any reproduction case at all. But yeah, that happens to be everything that I got in this pickups haul, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around to if you did watch this whole video. There was definitely a lot of stuff in here that I procrastinated. Very happy to be at the end of this video because honestly, in between takes, I was coughing up a storm. My sinus infection sucks, and it has just caused me to have so much like congestion and mucus and coughing, and it just is not fun. I was off of work for an entire week due to being sick. I'm finally back, still not feeling 100%, but nonetheless back to work and back to actually making money. So I bought a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff in this haul. I'm not sure how much more stuff I'm really going to be getting. I know the holiday season is coming up, so I could say right now that I'm not going to be getting a lot of stuff, but you never know what's going to happen if stuff drops in price or some cool stuff comes out. I know at the very least I'm getting Sonic Frontiers and the new Pokemon game, so and potentially God of War Ragnarok, so we'll see what happens. Hoping not to spend any that much more money, considering that I do need to be saving a little bit of money to get a truck since my car happened to blow up. So not really going to go into details about that other than my car finally died, so I need a new truck. But yeah, that's probably going to stop me from getting more games and collecting more. But that's perfectly fine to me. I got so many games and so much new things in my collection now that it's not a big deal if I have to take a break from collecting for a while. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one.